Why are you introducing legislation that appears to undermine President Obama's authority over the Libyan airstrikes? He hasn't declared war, he consulted NATO, and is apparently doing this to protect its innocent citizens from their own leader. Congress didn't question President Bush's decision to invade Iraq. It had nothing to do with the 9/11 tragedy. Why now? Is this just another political maneuver to undermine and go against anything President Obama does? Okay, one more.
He hasn't got 2 hours to answer that question.
Yeah. Why do you hold President Obama to a higher standard than any other president by introducing a bill against Libya, for example, Reagan?
Okay. First, I'm in Congress now. I wasn't in Congress before. So, and particularly when we talk about Reagan, I was just a kid when Reagan was in office. So, yeah, I can't really comment on what he was doing. But I don't hold President Obama to a higher standard. I hold every president and every member of Congress to the standard of the Constitution. That's the important thing, that we follow the Constitution. And as you guys have seen, based on how independent I am, I'm not partisan at all. I mean, there's nobody in Congress who considers me partisan based on my voting record. It really doesn't connect with how I'm actually voting. But I can tell you with certainty that under the Constitution, the president doesn't have the authority to initiate strikes against another country without any imminent threat to our country. The founders and framers of the Constitution were very clear about this, and we actually have their debate transcripts. We have transcripts from debates where James Madison is debating with people about war powers. And they were very clear in their debates about the point that the Congress should have the authority to commence any sorts of war. And there are some who say this isn't a war. In fact, I think the Obama administration has called it a kinetic military action. Okay, well, if Libyan fighter jets were flying over Grand Rapids dropping missiles, we wouldn't say, oh, that's just a kinetic military action. We would say they've declared war on us. This is a war. And that's the way we need to think about it. We often think that our actions in other countries are just no big deal if we launch missiles at them. But we don't think about what if someone else was launching missiles at us? Would we just say no big deal? That's just how things go. It's a war. And whether it's a big war or a small war is not the point. It's an offensive military operation. And so the Congress has that authority in the Constitution to declare war. I believe the president has every right to defend our country from attack. If we're attacked suddenly and he needs to send something out and go after whoever it is, I have no problem with that. And nobody in Congress has a problem with that, and the founders didn't have a problem with that. They believe that the president should have the right to repel attacks or to launch something back if someone comes after us. But Libya posed no threat to us, certainly not in the immediate future. And in those cases, he should have come to Congress, asked for authority, because we're the ones who are representing the people in our individual districts. And if we give him the authority, then he's free to go. If we don't, he's not. And that's the way it should work in this country. The UN doesn't decide whether we go to war.